Welcome to the website, DaveO'HaraSports.com. That's not Craig and Stacy Schrader, that's Margaret McCaffery. She's sitting in for the Schraders this week. So first and foremost, Margaret, thanks so much for joining us. And secondly, how you doing?
I am fine, thank you, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure, truly. And Craig and Stacy in Florida, so getting some business done. So we had the Schaefers on before when the Schraders were out of town, and now we had the McCafferys. You saw Fran earlier with Margaret. So Margaret, let's just get right to it with Fight with Flash Foundation and how integral you were in getting them, you and Fran, and Craig and Stacy have told this story many times, but when Austin was going through his fight, Austin Flash Schrader, with your son Patrick, and just how pervasive and awful this disease cancer is, because Austin had an initial decent outlook of a 90% survival, and then the world just kind of caved in from there for Austin and Craig and Stacy Schrader. But with Patrick, your son had a very touch and go surgery and malignant tumor, and 14 years old, that's a lot to handle. You guys came out the other side, Patrick now playing very well for the Iowa Hawkeye men's team. But how does that for you, and Fran told the story earlier about you saying on the way to visit the Schraders in the hospital with Austin, let's call Dick Vitale. So for you as a parent, but then also as a coach's wife, does that just kick in and say, let's rally everybody together and make this happen? How'd that work for you with the Schraders, please?
Well, ironically, Craig Schrader was probably the first person that I spoke to when we moved here.
Wow.
Because I was looking for a baseball team for Patrick at the time. And somebody gave me his number and said, why don't you call Craig? Because he knows lots of people and whatever.
Yes, he does.
So they had been friends of ours, and I remember speaking to them after Austin was diagnosed, actually, but they were in Mexico on spring break, as a lot of people were at the time that the news about Patrick broke, and they just couldn't believe it. And we didn't know yet whether we knew he had a tumor, we knew he was going to have surgery, but we didn't know if it was malignant or benign yet. Even after a couple of different biopsies. And so they were just like, holy cow. And then they came home, and then Austin wasn't, had this thing on his leg, and well, maybe it's an infection or what, and it wasn't. And so all of a sudden we're just kind of, after knowing each other anyway, we're really pushed into this together. And I think, I always say it's nothing that you would ever wish on anybody else, but if you have to go through it, you're so grateful for the people that become part of your world. And we felt so blessed to be able to be a part of their journey, and for them to allow us to be a part of that journey. Sure. And for the boys to have each other when they were going through what they were going through, because nobody can really talk to them the way that they could talk to each other.
It's and I got to share this with the viewers, that when I called Margaret and Fran's sons, Connor and Patrick, currently on the Iowa basketball team, there was not one moment of hesitation when I asked them if they wanted to be involved in this process to talk about Austin and the Fight with Flash Foundation. They were both like, when do you need us? So as a parent, you've done something right, because not just what Patrick went through, but even Connor, a couple of years older than him, he's like, Dave, whenever you need me. That tells me a lot about the McCafferys, about Patrick and Connor, but like you just hit the nail on the head, Margaret. When you go through that together, there is an unfortunate bond, but a bond that never breaks.
Yeah, and now through Craig and Stacy, but also just consequently, we've become friends with Brad and Darcy Schaefer, whose son Tate died last March. And, I hope that people can find comfort in certain connections.
I'm really glad you went there, because as the viewers know, and you heard me reference earlier, that we had Brad and Darcy on this show in place of Craig and Stacy when they were on vacation, and Craig traveling the country with Stacy to talk about and make awareness. And those are the three things we talk about, Margaret, is with Craig and Stacy each week, with the Fight with Flash Foundation, and with you now, and the Schaefers back then with Tater Tough, is raising awareness, raising funding, but then financial support, but then also support. I'm still amazed that I just said it to Craig and Stacy every day that I talk to them, that they're out there sharing their story every day, reliving that. And Craig said, we don't look at it that way, Dave. We're here to help people. We wish we had people. We had people like that for us. Mm-hmm. So to offer that support after all this time tells you that is a mission that they are completely 100% locked into, but I'm just fascinated with the grace that they handle. And you know this, being friends with them and the Schaefers. Every time I always say, hey, Craig, how you doing? I'm blessed, Dave. I'm happy. They're always a bountiful, full of energy, Craig and Stacey, with smiles. After all that, to come out the other side and be like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing, both of those couples, and as I said, we feel really blessed to be a part of their journey and to do what we can.
So talk about then, if you would, for us, and then we'll get back to other things for another segment. But with this Fight with Flash Foundation with Margaret McCaffery, I'm Dave O'Hara, and we do this segment every week with the Craig and Stacey Schrader. Margaret kind enough to sit in. So when you involve a guy like Dick Vitale, who's going through his own battle for a second time, and I've said to Craig and Stacey, and I said, Coach Fran, your husband, boy, cancer picked the wrong guy to mess with, and Dick Vitale. And that was the first name that came out of your mouth to Fran, and said, hey, let's get Dickie V on the phone for Austin, and what a pep talk he can give, and who better than Dickie V to give a pep talk. But that's the awareness again, Margaret, that blows my mind, that somebody famous like that has to get cancer for people to go, oh yeah, this can happen. Because it is always somebody. My mom's a cancer survivor, but your son is somebody's niece, nephew, mom, dad, brother, family member, connection in the community. It is interesting, though. It takes somebody famous sometimes for people to get tipped upside the head and say, oh, this can happen.
Yeah, I mean, and it happened to us, not that Patrick was famous or that we're really particularly famous, but because of when he was diagnosed or when we knew he was sick and what was going on in Fran's career at the time with the basketball game and the season coming to an end and the NCAA tournament for the first time, we really, we were sort of forced into that too, but I felt like it was, you can try to go into a hole and not talk to anybody, or you can try to use your platform to raise awareness and get people to pay attention and try to be helpful. And that's what we chose to do, and that's what Craig and Stacey have done, and Brad and Darcy. And I think it's important. I mean, I think everybody has to handle this in their own way.
Sure.
And not everybody can do that, but we are lucky to have. I've always felt like that was the blessing of the platform that we had. When the doctors came to us, from Dr. Wiener from the Cancer Center and Dr. Vias, who was the head of pediatric oncology at the time, when they came to us and said, would you help us start this adolescent young adult cancer program? Fran and I were like, yeah, what do you need us to do?
Wow.
We'll have a fundraiser. What do you want? And they said, we just want to use we want to be able to use your platform. And we have had fundraisers too, but
sure,
being able to say that we were on board was helpful. And obviously, we were more than willing to do that. Well,
and more than willing to do this with us and for the Schraders. And I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that's what Craig and Stacey and I have talked about, and now you and Coach Fran, and using my platform of media and television, social media. I could not be happier, and I use the same word you do. I'm blessed. And how ironic, Craig and I grew up in a very small town in Northeast Iowa, Postville, and our families know each other, and how these circumstance brings everybody together. But I said that to Craig. He's like, oh, thank you, Dave. And I'm like, well, you're welcome, but thank you. Because like you said, I'm more than pleased to use my platform to put this out there for everybody and just let people know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And like you said, everybody's able to handle it their own way, but if they need help, they know where to go.
Yeah, and I mean, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
For doing this.
Truly my pleasure.
Because it's we just want to help. We want to fight, and we want to help provide support. So
you're very welcome, but truly my pleasure, and thank you. So that's just how it goes with people like the McCafferys, the Schaefers, the Schraders. How happy I am to be involved with Hawkeyed with Dave O'Hara, or DaveO'HaraSports.com. Margaret, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Truly my pleasure. We're going to be talking with Margaret for future television shows, so please stay tuned, either via social media, Dave O'Hara Sports, or DaveO'HaraSports.com, and also stay tuned to your local listings. We've interviewed extensively with Fran McCaffery earlier today, and with Margaret now, and then Connor and Patrick tomorrow. So that doesn't matter what day it is, just so you know. Hawkeyes start their season, and whenever you watch this, please be sure to take care of all those involved, as Margaret and I just talked about, the Fight with Flash Foundation or Tater Tough or any other charitable organization that does good work. Again, Fight with Flash Foundation via social media or fightwithflash.org. So for Margaret McCaffery, I'm Dave O'Hara. That's all for me. Thanks to all of you.